Welcome back into CBS Sports HQ on this Tuesday. Leger Douzable has been hard at work. It's not just Pete Prisco. Leger out there, he's cooking crab, making steak, and putting together a list. His top defensive tackles rankings. You're taking a look at 10 through 6, but we're about to count down the top 5. So let's get into it. Let's start with number 5 here. TJ Sanders out of South Carolina. Ryan Wilson had him as a late day 2 guy. But Pete, I actually want to start with you on this guy.
Well, there's some talk that he's not a great practice player, and look at I mean, I'm just relaying some information.
It's lion season, Pete.
Yeah, well, I mean, he's a good player, but again, you want your guy practicing and practicing hard all the time.
Well, on tape you don't see that because we were talking about that off camera. He's a violent defensive tackle that gives you interior pass rush, and he's just physical with his hand usage. You see it right here on the inside. He can bend and get on the edge, and that's the thing that quarterbacks really hate. You see it right there on the double team. Look how he violently disengages and makes that tackle. So TJ Sanders was part of a defensive line where there's going to be probably 4 guys get drafted, and Pete, he's probably going to be the highest guy drafted out of that defensive line to let you know how good of a player he truly is.
Before we get into the rest of the players, I mean, how deep is this class compared to other drafts? Because it seems like it's remarkable.
I'm not going to lie to you, there will be starters in the 4th round from this draft. Like maybe even 5th round. Defensive tackle.
Yeah.
Defensive tackle, 4th, 5th round, there will probably be starters down the road in this draft class. That's how deep it is. This may be the deepest defensive line or tackle class we've seen in probably 20, 30 years.
Now, I will say this. Talent-wise, there's a lot of talent at defensive tackle. There are some character concerns about some of them.
We ain't raising choir boys here.
I know, but so, you know, that kind of knock them down a little bit.
Okay. I don't know which ones those are necessarily. You guys can bring it up if you want, or we'll let the teams. They know what it is behind the scenes. Let's go to the sexy Darius Alexander out of Toledo. Balled out during the Senior Bowl. Really improved his draft stock, it seems like, Leger, after the season ended.
For sure, Amanda. Throughout this process, he's probably been the one defensive tackle that has gained as much traction as any defensive tackle in this draft. When you look at him, he's an athletic defensive tackle, around 295, 300 pounds, running 4.95 at the combine. You go back to that bowl game versus Pittsburgh, shows his athletic ability. He drops in zone coverage, 58-yard interception to the house. And Amanda, he leapfrogged an offensive lineman to get to the end zone. He's a guy that can line up and down the line of scrimmage. He did that at the Senior Bowl like you talked about. Rushed at edge, rushed inside. He's a guy that plays with great leverage, has great flexibility. He stays in there against double teams. He doesn't get knocked off the ball. The only concern with him, Petey, he's an older prospect. He's 24 years old, will be turning 25 right before the season starts. But other than that, he's a guy that's going to come in day 1 and start on your defensive line.
Well, there are other concerns. There's level of competition concerned. And when I watch a tape, if they're playing a bad team and I'm watching a guy and he's a terrible offensive lineman, I just turn it off. I'm not watching it anymore. I'm just not watching it anymore.
Yeah.
What makes you more angry? Offensive linemen in bad play, or like drafting running backs too high? I feel like those are your top 2 pet peeves.
Drafting running backs too high.
Okay.
And then the other concern is history of the small school defensive tackle isn't great on the next level if you draft them high. It just isn't. If you look back at the history, it's a tough transition. You're going from playing small school dominant defensive tackle to big time football in the National Football League against big power linemen. So it's a tough transition.
The only pushback I would say on that is that the Senior Bowl, he looked like he belonged. And actually, he didn't just look like he excelled at the Senior Bowl. And then when you look at his game tape, we talked about Pittsburgh being an ACC team. He dominated in that game. Mississippi State, an SEC team, he dominated them as well. So there's tape of him playing the upper echelon talent in college football. And then again, at the Senior Bowl, he dominated.
Let's go to Kenneth Grant here out of Michigan, I believe. This is a big guy. Look, 6'4", 331 pounds. Some people have him listed as high as 340, I believe. Ryan Wilson has him going 13th overall to the Dolphins. Ooh. So we're looking at a top first rounder. You agree with that, Leger? You have him at number 3 on your list.
He probably has the most upside at D-tackle in this draft. And I say that because he's going to be dominant against the run from day 1 and help your run defense. But, Pete, I think his biggest upside is pass rushing. You go to that Ohio State game, they could not block him. And a lot of those guards are going to get drafted for Ohio State. So this is a guy that's a freak athlete. You talked about Amanda. Some people say he's 330. Some people say he's 340 pounds. I go to last year's tape where he's playing Penn State, right? And the running back has like 20 yards on him, and he runs him down, Amanda. 340 pounds, picking him up, putting him down, taking chasing down Katron Allen from behind 30 yards down the field. Bruce Feldman had him on his freak list for a reason. This guy has the highest upside at all of these D tackles in this draft.
Yeah, I think 13 would probably be a little high for him. If you're sitting there with your Chargers, Jim Harbaugh, you would want him in your middle of your defense. I love him. I think he's a really powerful player, can get up the field, can do a lot of things. When you watch Mason Graham, he's much bigger. He's much more physical than Mason Graham. I will say this, my guy, my center from USC handled him when they played and matched up.
Monheim.
He was very good against him.
So you have him at number 3, and both of you said he may have the most upside, still 2 guys above him. The next one is Kenneth Grant, and looking at Ryan's latest mock draft, and again, look, these things change. He actually has him, what did I say?
Kenneth Grant.
Oh, sorry, Walter Nolan. Walter Nolan compared to Kenneth Grant because he has Kenneth Grant going higher, that's where I meant to say it, and Walter Nolan going a little bit lower, but you have them switched.
And I actually don't think it's that far of a drop-off between him and Mason Graham. When you look at what Walter Nolan does, he has big tree trunk legs. He's hard to move off the ball. If you're looking for a guy that can penetrate and create havoc in the backfield, that's exactly what Walter Nolan does. I think there's something to be said to it, man. This guy was the #1 recruit coming out of high school, and he lived up to those expectations. Again, look how violent he plays right here. Getting up the field, creating havoc. That is a pass rush game. Watch how he folds back under and gets the sack. Again, a guy that can penetrate, get in the backfield, create havoc. You see it right there, double team, come across the face, get a tackle for loss, and a fumble right there. He is constantly getting in the backfield and creating havoc. So, honestly, I don't think there's that much big of a drop-off between him and Mason Graham. I like the way that Walter Nolan plays the game. He plays it with reckless abandon, and he's also violent. And he's a guy, I think, from day one, if you're looking for a guy that can create havoc in the middle of your defense, he's your guy.
He's an impressive football player. There's no question about it. He can get up the field. He's physical. Again, #1 recruit in the country. Went to Texas A&M.
Yeah.
Didn't work out at Texas A&M, and now went to to Ole Miss. But he took the money. But he's another one that there are some questions out there about. But he's a darn good football player.
Okay, so not much room between him and Mason Graham. Mason Graham coming in at #1. Why does he get that top spot?
He's just the most pro-ready D tackle in this draft. When you look at him, his hand usage, the leverage he plays with. I know people have concerns about his arm length or his weight because he's only 296 pounds. But you never see him get knocked off the ball because he understands, because he has shorter arm speed, that he has to get his hands on offensive linemen before they get their hands on him. He's so athletic, Amanda, that at times at 3 technique, and when I say 3 technique, interior defensive tackle, they let him rush in a 2-point stance standing up. Like, I'd never seen that on tape, Pete. A defensive tackle standing up and rushing the quarterback.
That's the size of a linebacker.
And then at times when they ran the ball, he was still able to hold his ground against the run. So you talk about a guy that rushes with a plan. He is the one guy that almost has like a veteran mindset when it comes to setting up his rushes at defensive tackles. And you see it right there, the ranks in the Big Ten when it comes to tackles and also pressures and sacks. He's top 5 in all those categories over the last couple of years. He's the most pro-ready defensive tackle in this draft.
There are concerns about him. I love him. Don't get me wrong. I think the hand usage is incredible. The hand usage is incredible. He plays like a guy who's been playing football for a long time. And so he has the tricks of the trade down. You wonder if there's a ceiling.
Okay.
Because, you know what I'm saying? Is there a ceiling for him? Is this the best he's going to get? Because he's not a big guy. You mentioned 297, but at his pro day he was over 300. He did take off some weight. Yeah, he put some weight on. He needed to. He's still not a big guy. Yeah. He's not a power. You look at him, and you watch him walk into a room, and you look at him, he's not a big physical guy. You saw the hand, he was working on his hands the other day. Yeah. The guy he was working with looked like he was twice his size.
He's talking about BT Jordan.
Yeah, he doesn't, he's not a big guy. He's on the ground a little more than you would like. And for a guy who's considered a great pass rusher, 6.5 sacks over the course of 2 seasons.
I mean, get double team a lot,
again, he would probably be my first defensive tackle, no question about it, but there are concerns.
Okay, so why your first DT? Since you are listing all these concerns and you say some other guys have a higher ceiling, I know he's pro-ready now. Is that the reason?
Yeah, he's pro-ready now. And again, he's a guy that knows the tricks of the trade. And when you know the tricks of the trade, you're going to get away with it early and often in your career. The question becomes, when the tricks of the trade are no longer all you have, is that all you have, are you still capable of making the plays?
I would say this. I think teams overthought Braden Fisk last year, and they have the same body type, same mold. They play similar styles of football, and he should have been a first-round pick. He ended up going top of the second round.
Would you take Braden Fisk top 10? You're taking Mason Graham top 10.
Yes, I think he can affect.
Actually, some people have him
the
top
quarterback.
5.
I think Jacksonville at 5 makes a lot of sense to them.
If I were them, I'm not so sure I would take him. I would consider
it would complete that defensive line.
I would take Walker, but I think there are concerns about him. I got to bring concerns on everybody.
Let's put up the whole list. Let's put up the whole list of people.
Everybody. He loves everybody.
As you guys go out arguing, as you do. But that's why we adore both of you guys and having you here on set taking a look. Again, once again, at Leger Douzable's top 10 defensive tackles heading into this draft, a very, very deep class.